Ariana and Evan make a coordinated strike against multiple anchor points, facing Elora directly in the basement and rescuing more trapped souls. Strike against the anchors. The snow outside the house had slowed to a light drizzle, giving the property an eerie calm. But we knew better. The house was alive, and it remembered every step, every heartbeat, every flicker of fear. Evan adjusted the lantern, checking the metal rods we had gathered. We can't waste any time. Tonight, we hit all the anchors we can reach. We weaken her grip, free as many souls as possible, and survive. I nodded, swallowing hard. Calm. Controlled. No mistakes. Let's do this. Re-entering the house. The front door creaked as we entered. The hallway stretched before us, familiar yet terrifying. Shadows wriggled along the walls, but this time we didn't hesitate. Back again, a whisper echoed, low and mocking. We ignored it, moving together, lanterns held high. Every step was deliberate, every breath controlled. The basement loomed ahead, and I could feel the house pulsing, alive with hunger. The glow of the symbols on the floorboards below was faint but constant, a map of Elora's power. Coordinated strike. We split our focus. Evan targeted one symbol at a time, while I used the lantern and rod to disrupt the others nearby. The shadows lashed and coiled, but each disruption weakened them. They hissed, screeched, and sometimes vanished into smoke, only to partially reform. We moved deliberately, systematically, keeping our fear suppressed. Every symbol disrupted, every shadow weakened, made the trapped souls stir in recognition, whispering faint thanks. You can save us. We can be free, one voice whispered. Evan nodded. Keep going. Almost there. Elora intervenes. Suddenly, Elora appeared at the top of the basement stairs, her red shoes tapping a slow, deliberate rhythm. You dare weaken me, she hissed. Do you think you can undo centuries of power? Shadows surged violently at her command, forming a living barrier. Tendrils lashed toward us, striking the walls and floor. I gritted my teeth. We already know your rules, I whispered to Evan. We're using them against you. Evan nodded, continuing to disrupt symbols while I protected the trapped souls. The shadows struck, but hesitated, our calm, deliberate movements countering their aggression. The first major soul freed. We reached the far corner of the basement, where a young man crouched behind debris. His eyes were wide, terrified, but human. Help, he whispered. I grabbed his hand, guiding him past the shadows. Evan disrupted a nearby symbol, and a shadow screeched, recoiling violently. With deliberate care, we moved him toward the staircase. The other freed souls followed, their whispers faint but human, thank you, thank you. Evan and I covered their backs, fending off tendrils and shadowy forms. The warden weakens. Elora's face flickered with frustration. Her hands rose, summoning the shadows with frantic precision. Impossible, she hissed. This cannot be. The basement pulsed with anger, but each disrupted symbol weakened her control. The shadows became less coordinated, slower, easier to push back. We guided the freed souls outside, each step measured, calm, deliberate. The basement door opened, and the cold night air was freedom, temporary but vital. I realized then, if we could maintain our composure, disrupt the anchors systematically, and protect the trapped souls, we could weaken Elora enough to confront her directly, and perhaps free everyone in the house. Evan nodded beside me, shivering but determined. This is just the beginning. We keep striking, keep disrupting, and we win. The house loomed behind us, silent now, but the faint glow of the remaining symbols reminded us that the war was far from over. And somewhere above, the soft, deliberate tapping of red shoes echoed a warning. This isn't over, whispered Elora. But for the first time, we weren't afraid. We had found our leverage. And tonight, the warden's grip was weakening. Ariana and Evan confront Elora directly in the basement, risking everything to break the last anchor and free the trapped souls. Confronting the warden. The air was thick with tension as we stepped back into the house. The basement door loomed like a dark maw, swallowing all light. Snow swirled outside, but inside, the cold darkness pulsed, alive with Elora's presence. Evan tightened his grip on the metal rod. This is it. The last anchor. If we break it, we weaken her completely. I nodded, holding the lantern high. My chest ached with fear, but I forced myself to project calm, steady determination. No fear. Focus. One step at a time. The descent. The staircase creaked beneath our weight, shadows writhing along the walls like liquid darkness. Back again, whispered voices, overlapping, desperate. We ignored them. Every flicker of fear would feed the house. Every hesitation could cost lives. At the bottom, the last symbol glowed, a faint red pulse on the floorboards. Around it, shadows coiled in anticipation, tendrils snapping at the edges of our lantern light. And above, at the top of the stairs, Elora appeared. Red shoes tapping softly, her smile calm and terrifying. You think you can undo me, she whispered. The house is mine. The souls are mine. And soon, so will you be? The final struggle. Evan moved first, disrupting the symbol with precise strikes from the rod. The shadows surged violently, striking at us from all directions. I held the lantern high, scattering them, keeping the trapped souls behind me. My pulse was steady, every movement controlled. Elora descended the stairs slowly, raising her hands. Tendrils of shadow shot toward us, faster than ever, lashing at our legs, our arms, trying to separate us. You cannot win, she hissed. You will fear, you will fail. But we didn't. Weakening her control. I struck the final symbol with all my strength. The glow flickered, dimmed, and then vanished. The shadows faltered, confused. Tendrils recoiled, the basement pulsing like a living creature in pain. Elora's expression changed, fear, frustration, and fury crossing her features. Her red shoes clacked harder against the floorboards. Impossible, she whispered, voice trembling. No one, ever. Evan and I pushed the trapped souls toward the staircase, covering them with lantern light. The shadows shrieked but retreated, weakening with every calm, deliberate step we took. Freedom for the trapped souls. One by one, the trapped souls followed us out. Their whispers were faint but human again. Thank you, thank you. We guided the last few toward the exit. The basement door opened, spilling cold moonlight across the floor. Outside, the night air was sharp, but alive, and the snow crunched under their feet like salvation. Elora's silhouette appeared in the basement doorway, red shoes tapping once more. Her voice, now weaker, floated through the night. You may have disrupted me, but the house, it remembers. I met Evan's eyes. We've freed them. For now, the house isn't finished, but we've won this battle. A glimmer of hope. The trapped souls moved away from the house, shivering but safe. Evan breathed heavily, looking back at the basement. We broke her control, we weakened her grip. But she's still there. She's still part of the house. I nodded. Yes. But the anchors are gone. Her power is fractured. She can't control them, or us as fully anymore. We have leverage now. The snowstorm had ceased. The house loomed behind us, silent for the first time. For the first time, I felt hope. We had faced the warden. We had disrupted her anchors. And the trapped souls were free, at least for now. But somewhere deep within the house, a faint glow pulsed, a reminder that Elora's presence lingered, patient and waiting. The war wasn't over. But we had taken the first, most critical step toward victory. Ariana and Evan explore the aftermath, discover the house's remaining hidden powers, and prepare for the final confrontation with Elora to end her influence forever. Aftermath and discovery. The snow outside had stopped, leaving the ground crisp and silent. The freed souls huddled together, shivering but alive, faces pale from fear but illuminated by hope. Evan and I stood a few feet away, catching our breath. The basement, the house, the shadows all seemed quieter, almost as if the house itself were reconsidering its next move. We weakened her, Evan said, voice low. But she's still in there, part of the house, part of the walls, part of the shadows. We need to know what we're up against. I nodded, shivering. We've learned the anchors were key. But there's more we don't see yet, more of the house's power that she could still use. Returning inside for information. We decided to enter briefly, cautiously, to gather intel. The main floor was eerily quiet. Shadows twisted in corners but didn't attack. The house seemed to sense our new confidence and patience. You think you've won, a faint whisper drifted from the walls. I ignored it, focusing on scanning the room. Dusty shelves held old ledgers and journals. Among them, we discovered a larger book, bound in black leather, the edges worn. Evan opened it carefully. The pages contained centuries of records, families, visitors, names of those trapped, and cryptic notes about the warden's powers. I read aloud. The warden's connection is eternal. She draws from fear, from pain, from sorrow. If the anchors are destroyed, her reach is fractured, but not gone. To fully sever her power, one must confront her in the locus, where the house's memory is deepest, where the shadows are oldest. Evan's eyes widened. The locus, that must be the original heart of the house. The center of its power. If we go there, we end her control completely. Planning the final strike. We took notes, marking the safest routes through the basement and main floors. I said, we know the rules, no fear, avoid her red shoes, disrupt the anchors. Now we need a map of the locus and a strategy. If we hit her at the source, maybe we can finally free the house from her. Evan nodded, determination in his eyes. We'll need more than courage. We'll need strategy, timing, and maybe some of the freed souls to help distract her. I shivered, realizing the truth. The house wasn't just a building, it was a living, thinking entity. The locus would be a trap, a test, and a final confrontation with Elora herself. A fleeting moment of hope. Outside, the freed souls gathered around a small fire we managed to light. Their faces reflected relief, hope, and trust in us. One whispered, "You saved us, but what about the others?" I looked at Evan, silently communicating the same thought, we will save them. All of them. But first, we have to prepare. The house isn't done. Elora isn't done. Evan smiled grimly. Then we rest, plan, and strike smart. Tonight was victory. Tomorrow, we finish it. The house loomed behind us, silent but aware. The faint pulse of its core seemed almost like a heartbeat, reminding us of what was to come. I clenched my fists, feeling a mixture of fear and determination. We know the rules now. We know her weaknesses. The locus, that's where it ends. And somewhere in the shadows, a faint glimmer of red shoes appeared briefly at a window. A reminder. A warning. You will come, and you will finish this, whispered Elora's voice. We nodded to each other. We would finish it. Ariana and Evan make their first approach to the house's locus, encountering the oldest, most dangerous shadows, and prepare for the ultimate showdown with Elora. Approaching the locus. The air was icy and heavy as we approached the house. Snowflakes clung to our coats, but inside, a darker chill awaited. Evan tightened the straps on our backpacks, checking rods and lanterns. This is it. The locus. The heart of the house's power. If we can survive what's inside, we can end her grip. I swallowed, gripping the lantern tightly. We know the rules. No fear. No hesitation. Disrupt the anchors. Protect each other. And we strike at the core. The front door seemed larger tonight, more menacing. Its shadow stretched across the snow like a dark invitation. The first obstacles. Inside, the main floor was eerily silent. Shadows clung to the corners but didn't move. The house seemed to sense our purpose. You think you understand me, a whisper slithered from the walls. But I am eternal. We ignored it. Every whisper was designed to feed fear, but we had learned. We had discipline. The staircase to the basement loomed ahead. The air grew colder with every step. Faint symbols glowed beneath the floorboards, the last anchors we hadn't destroyed. Evan whispered, "Focus. These symbols are her lifeline. Disrupt them, weaken her further." Calm, steady, like we practiced. The old shadows. As we descended, the shadows became denser, darker, moving with intelligence. These were not the timid forms we had seen before, they were older, sharper, faster. One lunged at Evan, tendrils snapping. He struck with the rod, dispersing it momentarily. Another twisted toward me, hissing, its form almost human. "You will fail," came a chorus of voices, overlapping and urgent. "The heart cannot be broken." I forced myself to breathe calmly, moving deliberately. Each disrupted symbol weakened them slightly. We were making progress, but the danger intensified with every step closer to the locus. Discovering the locus. At the deepest part of the basement, a faint crimson glow pulsed through the walls. The shadows writhed violently, converging toward a central point. This is it," Evan whispered. "The locus." We stepped closer. The air was thick, almost suffocating. The walls pulsed, as if alive, echoing centuries of fear, sorrow, and pain. At the center stood Elora, her red shoes tapping on the floorboards, hands raised. Her eyes glowed faintly red, matching the locus. "You've come to die," she hissed. "This is my heart. My soul. My power. The house cannot exist without me. And neither can you." Preparing for the final battle. I raised the lantern. Its light cut through the shadows, casting temporary safe zones around us. Evan positioned the rods to disrupt the remaining anchors around the locus. "We do this carefully. Disrupt the anchors first. Keep calm. Distract her. Then, we strike the core directly." Elora's shadows surged violently, twisting and lashing with intelligence. But for the first time, I noticed a flicker in her form, hesitation. Weakness. The disruption of her anchors was taking effect. "You may weaken me," she whispered, voice trembling, "but the house endures." I clenched my jaw. "Then we finish it. Tonight, we end this." The locus pulsed like a heartbeat, shadows circling like predators. The final confrontation was imminent. And we were ready. Ariana and Evan engage in the ultimate confrontation with Elora, battling shadows, disrupting the locus, and attempting to permanently sever her power. The final confrontation. The crimson glow of the locus bathed the basement in a hellish light. Shadows writhed around us, twisting, snapping, alive with centuries of fear. Evan tightened his grip on his rod. "This is it," he whispered. "No mistakes. Keep calm. Every move counts." I nodded, lantern raised, projecting steady, unwavering light. The shadows recoiled slightly, and for the first time, I felt they could be defeated. Elora's red shoes tapped rhythmically on the floor. "You dare strike at my heart," she hissed. "The house is me, and I am eternal. You will fail." Disrupting the anchors. We moved quickly, deliberately. Evan struck the nearest anchor symbol with his rod, the glowing red pulse flickering violently. Shadows screamed, tendrils lashing at us, but we remained calm. I struck another symbol, scattering nearby shadows with the lantern. The oldest forms faltered, twisting in confusion. Elora screamed, a high-pitched, chilling sound that reverberated through the basement. "Impossible. You cannot weaken me so." The house pulsed violently, but the anchors were failing, her power over the shadows and trapped souls weakening with every disruption. Facing the warden directly. With the anchors disrupted, Elora's form became more distinct. The shadows around her recoiled slightly, giving us a narrow path to approach the locust directly. I whispered to Evan, "We go together. Keep calm. Strike at the source." The red glow at the center of the basement pulsed violently, like a heartbeat of pure malice. The shadows surged one last time, a wall of black reaching for us, but we pushed forward with synchronized determination. Evan swung his rod at the core while I held the lantern high, casting a shield of light. The shadows shrieked, recoiling, twisting in pain. Elora's voice echoed, trembling with rage, "No. You cannot undo me. I am eternal." Severing her power. I focused all my strength on the core, chanting quietly to myself, remembering the rules, projecting calm, certainty, and purpose. Evan struck the anchor one final time. The crimson glow flickered violently. Shadows writhed, then began to dissolve, evaporating into smoke. The trapped souls, visible now in faint outlines, stepped forward, their whispers calm, human again. "Thank you, you've freed us." Elora's form trembled, then shrank, her red shoes clattering against the floorboards. "You cannot end me," she whispered, voice fading. With one final strike, the core pulsed violently, then shattered. A wave of energy swept through the basement, the house groaned, walls shaking, shadows collapsing. The locus was destroyed. Elora's power was gone. The aftermath. We stumbled outside, the cold night air sharp against our skin. The freed souls surrounded us, their faces illuminated by moonlight, pale but alive. Evan exhaled, exhausted but smiling. "It's over, it's really over." I nodded, staring at the house. Its windows were dark now, lifeless. The pulse, the red glow, the shadows, they were gone. One of the freed souls whispered, "You saved us, all of us." I felt a tremor of relief, exhaustion, and triumph. The house, once a prison of fear and power, now stood silent, empty, and broken. Elora's presence was gone. Her red shoes, her whispers, her shadows, nothing remained. The house was no longer alive in the same way. We had faced the warden. We had disrupted the anchors. We had destroyed the locus. And the trapped souls were free. A glimmer of new beginnings. Evan and I looked at each other, weary but victorious. "We survived," he said quietly. "Yes," I replied. "And so did they. The house will never hurt anyone again." The snow glistened under the moonlight, peaceful and still. The war was over, the nightmare ended. And for the first time, we could breathe, truly breathe, knowing that fear no longer ruled the house. The shadows were gone. The red shoes were gone. Elora was gone. And we were finally free. The aftermath unfolds, the freed souls rebuild their lives, and Ariana and Evan deal with lingering mysteries of the house before the story reaches a grand conclusion. After the nightmare. The first light of dawn touched the snow-covered yard. The house stood silently behind us, dark and lifeless. No pulse, no shadows, no red shoes, just cold, still walls. The freed souls gathered in small groups, murmuring softly, sharing relief, and supporting each other. Some hugged each other, others wept quietly, finally feeling safe. Evan looked around at the survivors. "They're going to be okay, now, really okay." I nodded, exhaustion weighing on me. Yes, the house can't hurt them anymore. But there's still so much we don't know about it, and Elora. Reflections. We walked toward the edge of the yard, away from the house. The night's horrors had left marks, emotional, physical, and mental, but there was also a sense of triumph, of survival. Evan turned to me. "Do you think any part of her could still be here? A trace, a shadow?" I shook my head slowly. The locus is destroyed. The anchors are gone. She's gone. But the house, it has a memory. I think it will always remember. And maybe one day, someone else will face it. But not now. Not ever, as it was before. Rebuilding lives. Among the freed souls, we noticed small acts of reclaiming life. A young woman carefully picked up her scattered belongings from the snow, holding them like treasures. A man helped an older trapped soul to their feet, guiding them toward warmth. Children, trembling but smiling, began to play cautiously in the soft snow, free from fear for the first time. Evan whispered, "They'll rebuild. Slowly, but they'll rebuild." I smiled faintly. And maybe one day, they'll remember not just the fear, but also the courage it took to survive. Lingering mysteries. Despite the victory, questions lingered. I looked back at the house. Its walls were silent, its windows dark. But the memory of the shadows, the whispers, and Elora's red shoes would never fully fade. Evan said quietly, "Do you think there are other places like this? Houses that feed on fear?" I shivered at the thought. Maybe. But we know the rules now. We know how to survive. And if there are others, we'll be ready. A moment of peace. For now, the snow sparkled under the morning sun, the air crisp and quiet. The house, once a nightmare of shadows and fear, was finally dormant. Evan and I stood side by side, watching the freed souls move away from the house. The journey had been harrowing, terrifying, and exhausting, but we had survived. We had triumphed. I took a deep breath, letting the cold air fill my lungs. "It's over," I said softly. Evan smiled, exhaustion and relief mixed in his expression. "For now. And maybe that's enough." The house remained behind us, silent and empty. But we had changed it forever, and in doing so, changed ourselves. Ariana and Evan helped the freed souls fully recover, uncover more of the house's history, and provide a grand, satisfying conclusion to the story. Healing and revelations. The morning sun cut through the frost, casting long, soft shadows across the yard. The house, though still standing, felt empty and hollow, its pulse gone, its hunger quenched. The freed souls gathered around us, hesitant but curious. They looked to us for guidance, for reassurance, and for answers. Evan crouched beside a young woman, offering a blanket. "You're safe now. It's over. Take your time. Recover." I moved to help a trembling man who had been trapped for days. "You made it. That's what matters. You survived. You're alive." Uncovering the house's history. Amid the snow-dusted yard, we examined the old journals and ledgers we had taken from the house. Pages revealed the house's long, twisted history. Centuries ago, it had been built on land with a strange energy, absorbing the emotions of all who lived there. Each warden, like Elora, had been drawn to its power, merging with the house and controlling shadows to trap souls. Records hinted at other locations in the world with similar, though less potent, energy, houses that remembered and fed on fear. Evan looked up from a page. "So this wasn't just about Elora. The house itself is alive, and it's been building power for centuries." I nodded slowly. "But we faced it. We broke her grip. That history doesn't control us anymore." Helping the freed souls. We spent the day assisting the freed souls, offering guidance and reassurance. We helped them collect belongings that had been scattered by fear or shadows. That we explained what had happened, warning them that the house might remember, but emphasizing that it could no longer harm them as it once had. That we encouraged them to support each other, forming bonds to replace the terror the house had sown. A small group gathered around Evan and me, grateful eyes watching us. One whispered, "We can finally start over." I smiled, feeling the weight of the night lift slightly. "Yes. You can start over. And you're not alone." Reflections and lessons. As the sun climbed higher, Evan and I stepped aside, letting the freed souls begin rebuilding. Evan said quietly, "I never thought we'd survive, not really. But we did. And we've given them a chance to live again." I nodded. "And we've learned the rules, the house, the fear, the anchors. If something like this ever happens again, we'll know what to do." Evan glanced at the silent house. "Do you think there's truly nothing left of Elora?" I shook my head. "Her presence is gone. The locust destroyed her. But the house will always remember. That's why we need to be cautious, but for now, she's gone. And the worst is behind us." A glimmer of hope. The freed souls began moving away from the house, slowly reclaiming their lives. The snow sparkled in the sunlight, cold and bright, a stark contrast to the darkness we had faced inside. Evan and I watched them, exhausted but content. We had faced fear, confronted darkness, and triumphed. I breathed deeply, the cold air filling my lungs. We survived, and they survived. That's what matters. Evan nodded. The house may always be a part of history, but tonight, we changed the story. For the first time in what felt like forever, the world outside the house seemed safe, peaceful, and free. And maybe, just maybe, it would stay that way. Ariana and Evan fully explore the remaining mysteries of the house, encounter any lingering shadows, and prepare for the story's final resolution. The house's final secrets. The morning sun had melted the frost slightly, revealing the yard littered with remnants of the night's chaos, broken furniture, scattered belongings, and faint scorch marks where shadows had lashed. The house loomed silently, dark windows like eyes staring at us, but no pulse, no movement betrayed life. Evan adjusted the backpack holding the journals we had recovered from the basement. There's still more we don't know. Maybe hidden rooms, maybe more secrets about the warden and the house itself. I nodded, gripping my lantern tightly. We've come this far. We need to make sure nothing else can harm anyone. Let's finish what we started. Exploring the upper floors. We ascended the main staircase cautiously. The upper floors were silent, abandoned, and eerily intact. Dust coated every surface, but no shadows lurked in the corners. As we moved through the hallways, we discovered sealed rooms with strange markings similar to the anchor symbols, though dormant now, their energy faint, old portraits of previous wardens, each with faint red glimmers in their eyes, suggesting a line of people who had merged with the house's power, hidden passages behind bookcases and walls, all leading to the house's center, the locus, now destroyed. Evan whispered, so this house was built to trap and control, over generations. Every warden added their own layers, their own darkness. I shivered. But we've undone it. The anchors are gone. The locus is destroyed. We need to make sure nothing remains to awaken it again. Lingering shadows. As we entered the attic, a faint movement caught my eye, a shimmer, almost imperceptible, in the corner. A shadow, older and darker than the ones we faced before, recoiled when we approached. You can't end me completely, a whisper hissed. I raised the lantern steadily. The shadow faltered, as if uncertain. I stepped forward, voice calm but firm, you're done. The anchors are gone. The locus is destroyed. There's no power left for you. Evan joined me, swinging his rod gently near the base of the shadow. It shrieked softly, twisting, then evaporated into thin air. I exhaled. That should be the last of them. Uncovering the house's core truth. In the attic, we discovered a dusty trunk. Inside were journals, letters, and artifacts detailing the history of the house. It had been built over a site of strong emotional energy, absorbing fear and sorrow. Each warden merged with it, feeding the house's shadows and creating anchor points to trap souls. The power was finite, it required anchors and the locus to maintain control over trapped souls. Evan looked up. So Elora wasn't invincible. Her power had limits. That's why breaking the anchors and destroying the locus worked. I nodded slowly. Yes. And now, with the knowledge in these journals, no one else will fall victim to the house again. Preparing for the final resolution. We descended to the main floor one last time. The house was silent, lifeless, and empty, its hunger finally quenched. The freed souls had moved on, starting their lives anew. Evan exhaled, leaning against the doorway. We've done everything we can. The house is powerless. Elora's gone. The shadows are gone. I smiled faintly. Yes. All that remains is to leave and let the world remember this place for what it really is, a house that once held fear, now finally free of it. The sun reflected off the snow, glinting like tiny fragments of hope. The house loomed silently, a monument to the past, but no longer a threat. I whispered softly, it's over. Truly over. And for the first time, the house seemed to agree, silent, dormant, and at peace. Ariana and Evan fully depart from the house, reflect on the lives they saved, and encounter the last hints of the house's lingering history, leading toward the grand conclusion. Departure and reflection. The morning air was crisp, almost painfully fresh after the heavy, suffocating atmosphere of the house. Snow glistened under the sunlight, covering broken furniture, discarded debris, and the remnants of fear. Evan adjusted his backpack, carrying the journals and artifacts we had recovered. "This is it," he said quietly. "We leave, and the house stays behind. Nothing more we can do." I nodded, gripping the lantern one last time. "Yes, we leave. But we take everything we've learned. The rules, the history, the warnings. And the knowledge of what's at stake." Final look at the house. We paused at the edge of the yard, looking back at the house. Its windows were dark and empty. The pulse, the shadows, the whispers, all gone. Evan whispered, "It's finally quiet. No more anchors, no more locusts, no more Elora." I exhaled deeply, a mixture of relief and lingering unease. Yes. But the house will always remember. And maybe one day, someone else will uncover its history. That's why we must keep the knowledge safe. The freed souls had moved on, forming small groups and guiding each other away from the house. Their whispers of gratitude and relief filled the cold air, soft and human again. Encountering the house's last hints. As we walked toward the road leading away from the property, I noticed faint markings on the snow near the front steps. Tiny, almost imperceptible, traces of the house's past power. Evan crouched, examining them. "These are remnants, memories of the house. Harmless now, but proof of what it was." I nodded, feeling the weight of centuries of fear, sorrow, and darkness finally dissipate. It's a reminder. Not a threat. But a lesson. Fear can trap, but courage can free. We stepped onto the road, the house shrinking behind us in the distance. The air was light, the snow sparkling, and for the first time in months, we felt completely free. Reflecting on the journey. Evan exhaled, looking at me. We faced centuries of fear, darkness, and power. And we survived. Not just for us, but for them, the trapped souls. We saved them. I smiled faintly, shivering in the crisp morning. Yes. And we've learned the rules. The anchors, the locusts, the importance of calm and purpose. We can't unsee it, but we can remember it and teach it if needed. He nodded. The house is quiet. But our journey isn't over. We'll carry this knowledge. We'll be ready if anything like it ever appears again. The sun climbed higher, warming our faces. The house stood behind us, silent, lifeless, and finally powerless. A new beginning. We continued down the road, leaving the house behind. The snow crunched beneath our boots, and the freed souls disappeared into the distance, starting their lives anew. For the first time, we felt hope untainted by fear. The darkness had been confronted, the anchors destroyed, the locusts shattered, and Elora gone forever. And as the morning light touched the world, we understood the truth. The past could be remembered, fear could be confronted, and courage could free even the most trapped souls. The house would remain, a monument to history and power, but it would no longer rule with fear. And we had changed it forever. Ariana and Evan fully close the story, reflect on all the lives saved, and leave the house behind for good, a satisfying ending for the audience. The final closure. The sun was high in the sky now, illuminating the snow-covered landscape. The house loomed behind us, dark and silent, no longer a place of fear, no longer alive with shadows. Evan adjusted his pack, filled with journals and relics of the house's history. "This is it," he said quietly. "The last time we'll see it." I nodded, feeling a mix of exhaustion, relief, and triumph. Yes. We faced it. We survived. And the souls we freed, they can finally live. Looking back. We paused at the edge of the property, taking one final look. The windows were dark, the doors closed, and no flicker of light betrayed life within. The house, once a prison of fear, now seemed empty and hollow, like a shell of its former power. Evan whispered, "It's quiet. The anchors are gone, the locusts destroyed. Elora's gone forever." I smiled faintly. Yes. The house may remember, but it will never hurt anyone again. That's the difference between memory and power. Fear cannot survive without control, and we've broken it. The freed souls. We watch the freed souls in the distance, moving carefully but with newfound confidence. Some laughed softly, a sound of relief we hadn't heard in weeks. Others helped each other, forming bonds to replace the terror the house had sown. One of the younger freed souls turned toward us and whispered, "Thank you for saving us." I nodded, feeling the weight of the night lift. It's done. You're free. Live your lives. Start over. Evan added quietly, and remember, courage is stronger than fear. Leaving the past behind. We turned away from the house, stepping onto the snow-covered road. Each crunch beneath our boots sounded like a heartbeat of life reclaiming itself. Evan said, "We carry the knowledge now. If anything like this ever appears again, we'll be ready. But for now, we leave it behind." I nodded, taking a deep breath of the crisp, clean air. Yes. Behind us, and behind them. We survived. And we've given others a chance to live. A final glimpse. As we walked away, I glanced back. The house remained silent and still, its dark windows reflecting the sunlight like empty eyes. No pulse. No shadows. No red shoes. For the first time, the world outside the house felt safe, peaceful, and free. Evan said softly, "We changed the story. We faced darkness and won." I smiled faintly. And that's how it will be remembered. The wind whispered through the trees, the snow glimmered, and for the first time in what felt like forever, hope truly filled the air. The house was behind us. The night of fear had ended. And life, with all its fragility and courage, continued. The grand conclusion. Ariana and Evan victorious, the freed souls safe, and the house permanently powerless. The lingering history is acknowledged, but the darkness has been overcome.